just getting started now. For yeah, it's just a minute after 8, so it's poets' time.
How many people were on last time?
Oh, I think about 7 or 8 last time.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So did you like originate this, or was it already a thing?
Kind of, yeah. No. I wanted to get poets together so that people can share stuff and not be, isolated when they are in their house. And then there was an opportunity to get more people who maybe wouldn't talk to each other or maybe know each other, but this is an opportunity. Brenda, where are you located?
South Dakota.
And where in South Dakota?
Yankton.
Yankton, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got Susan. How's Susan today?
I am fine. How are you?
Good. Where are you from, Susan?
I am actually from Volga, so not
Volga.
too far away. I usually say Brookings, but since most people know the geography, I'll just say Volga because it's more truthful.
Yeah. So did you all bring some poetry?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Wait, Lawrence, do you have any of your poems memorized?
I don't memorize poems. It's hard enough to remember my address. So, yeah, I have a lot of funny stories about me and my memory, and I'm certain that as I become more senile, I won't recognize that anything's changed. It'll be like, well, I've always been this way. I never could remember. So,
me too.
yeah, I mean, I remember things, but not when I need to, or I'll remember things, but then suddenly there'll be blank spaces. But when I was really young, like before grammar school, I remember my mother sent me to the store, and she tied a string on my finger, and she said, well, now when you get to the store, you'll look at this string and you'll remember that these are the things you're supposed to get. So I had to walk to the store, and I got about halfway there, and I thought, what the heck is this string on my finger? And I pulled it off and threw it away. Then when I got to the store, I realized, I was supposed to remember something with that string, but I don't know what it was.
That's something I would do. I have the memory of a 90-year-old. Because I'm only 19.
Well, we have Norma and Constance with us. Norma, I think some of these people know you, but maybe introduce yourself.
Who, me?
Yeah, Norma.
Oh, Norma?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Norma Wilson, and I'm so glad to meet the rest of you. I live in rural Vermilion. I just got done planting some okra and beans out in the garden. And we've got other veggies coming up. We've got some potatoes already coming up and onions and peas. The peas look great. So now we've got some bean seeds and okra in the ground. So I'm so glad to see you, and I look forward to hearing your poetry.
Oh, well, thank you.
And what about you?
Oh, I want to introduce Constance first.
Hi, I'm Constance Brewer. I'm from Gillette, Wyoming.
Oh.
And I know Norma from taking a class from her, and that's where I ended up with you guys.
Oh,
and
good.
We didn't get to plant today because it rained. So one of these days I'll get tomatoes in the ground. Not anytime soon.
Well, at least you don't have snow, though, right?
Don't say that. We've had snow in July, so.
No, that's okay. You must be in the same zone we're in, because we can do that too. Yeah, we don't get cocky.
No.
And I don't think any of you know Umakar. And so, Umakar, will you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Amakar Abdullahi. I live in Nebraska, South City, Nebraska, but I'm from Sioux Falls, and there's not much anything because my life is pretty boring. Like I told Lawrence, I'll only be here for 30 minutes because I'm fasting and I need to get ready to.
You should read first then.
Yeah. Okay. And Brenda, I think some of the people came after you did.
Okay.
So maybe you can introduce yourself as well.
All right, thanks. Brenda from Yankton. And it has been such a beautiful day today. I don't know if you've all have been outside, but it was so warm, and the Missouri River was calm with just a few ripples in it, and it was a beautiful day.
Great, great. Well, I'm hoping that we'll hear some interesting poetry. I'll, of course, share some with you, but I want to hear you guys' poetry first. And Amakara, since you have to leave, you get to start.
Okay. Do you want me to read like all of them? That I
I don't know, all of 100 or 200?
I only have like a little bit, so it's like 8.
Oh,
Maybe read 2 or 3.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is called Fallen Bones. Okay, skeletons in the closet, you say, hiding in previously, decomposing with dust while maintaining its composite. One may say they own complete opposite, as some might say it's held within as in one soul sealed with duct tape or maybe even glue. Real lies protruding from the skin, conceived into this earth, gifted with 300 of them, eventually losing 94. They weaken as we grow. Have you ever broken a bone, they ask, failing to realize it's barricaded with secrets and untold stories, afraid to remove the scary mask, except what is underneath is far more scary. So that one is called Fallen Bones. Okay, now this one is called the Dissolution of Time. It's an illusion. The hour hand catching up to the minute hand, the left leg catching up to the right. Can't start the day without it being planned. Eyes scanning while going through a mirror maze of constant ruckus. Time does not wait for us, to which we cannot plead time to pause, forward, or rewind. Autopilot leaving us programmed and brainless. But can you blame us for being so blind? Time alerting us to start our day. If not, we wake up behind time in speed to get in front of it. Time reminds us to go to sleep, to start over a loophole of reality. Time goes on, even at your demise. Time goes on. And then this is the last. The last one is called Inside the Mind of a Spiritual Enthusiast. Okay. Deep thinking, foreign phrase to one's soul, slowly but surely our minds sinking deep into the ego. The voice of reasoning, as some might say, echoing from the sunken place. Disturbance of work, school, family, friends, blocking our souls to endure righteous levels of tranquility. A busy mind bleeds out instability, harboring negative notions, which seals the path between the state of awareness and subconsciousness. Humanity has evolved this idea of praising a discrepant existence, nevertheless seated in solitude, achieving a state of theta, brings forth a idyllic serenity. Having said that, commence 5 minutes of amenity out of one's 24 hours, stationed within absolute hush, and you shall see the passion in the power of silence.
Very nice. Good. So now you're going to school. What school are you going to?
Northeast Community College. I'm done with school now, finally. One more year left.
One more semester?
No, 1 more year, and then I'll go to nursing school.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good for you. Good for you. So any sharing with Amakara? about her poetry? Constance, your mic is off, but you can turn it on if you like.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about the bones.
Oh, the Fallen Bones one?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one was representing like when people say that you have skeletons in the closet. That's what I was trying to get at in this poem. And in the title, the way it was originated is my best friend, she has siblings that were kind of making fun of me because I'm a skinny person. So they called me Fallen Bones. And I was like, hey, that's a nice title for another poem. So I just, so that's how the title was originated. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
We did not meet Susan. And Susan?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We were talking to Susan before, but Susan, can you introduce yourself?
Well, I will, but can I just ask about the last poem that was read? That hit a chord with me. The search for the spiritual and the recognition that it's lacking. What prompted that, may I ask?
Well, I'm more of a spiritual person. Like I meditate and stuff like that. And learning more about meditation and spirituality, it kind of helped me write this poem because, you know, we're all busy and just sitting in silence for 5 minutes, kind of with your thoughts, getting to know your thoughts is very effective in getting to actually know yourself. So that's what encouraged me in writing this poem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People say poetry is a form of prayer. So I can see that. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about yourself.
What do you want to know? This is I'm counting. I think it's my 4th Zoom meeting today. I'm part of the at-home brigade, and also very happy that classes are over. I'm on the other end of it. I'm a teacher, so I teach at South Dakota State University. So we've been working from home since after spring break, and it's been challenging. And but the students are amazing. What a wonderful group of young people. I mean, they're motivated, they're positive, they're flexible. I can't say enough about them. So that's what I do. I do write poetry. It is my secret love. There's very few people at work that even know that I write poetry. It's kind of my compartment that of joy, I guess, and grief and everything else. You know what that's like.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. So who would like to be next to share something? Don't all jump up at once. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so I just have one. So,
Okay.
All right. This one is called We Can Tomatoes. Tomatoes roll in rinse water, spinning balls. My part in canning is shining the tomatoes. They drop in hot water and slide out of their jackets. Tomatoes are squished into jars so full and so red. My part in canning is shining the tomatoes. My hand fits just right to clean inside jars. Tomatoes are squished into jars so full and so red. Steaming pot sets the canning jars bumping. My hand fits just right to clean inside jars. Mom brings Grandma more piles of tomatoes. Steaming pot sets the canning jars bumping. Long tongs reach for a jar. Mom tightens the lid. These jobs are made for Mom, Grandma, and me. What will we do when one of us goes? Long tongs reach for a jar. Mom tightens the lid. No piles of tomatoes, just spinning balls.
Wow. Very nice. So tell us about that poem. How did it, what motivated it?
Remembering back when I was a kid. And the hot kitchen in summer, the hot steaming kitchen in summer, with so much going on, and the kitchen table all full of all these stations where things are happening, and the electric stove has these huge pots on them, and the water's boil, it steam's coming out, and the big sink over to the side with water washing the tomatoes, my job. And just remembering the generations together doing something that we loved.
That sounds like almost a whole nother poem just that you did. Oh, good. Thank you for that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Anyone else? Someone else?
Oh, I enjoyed it because I could picture everything. That's what I liked about it. I've had a little bit of the experience with the canning, but not much. So that kind of took me back to, oh, I remember all that. That was so much fun with Grandma.
Described it so well. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? How about another poem?
I'll read one.
Okay.
I have a poem, a new poem. It's called COVID Spring. I think I better read it now because I feel like spring is almost over, but here it is. I'm obsessed with Dr. Williams' poems. So much depends upon purple crocus on fragile stems, hardy dianthus, and blanket flowers, rigs of grass beneath the snow. Mostly, we stay at home, building fences around the garden and pond to keep out cows and deer. Life is the same as always here on Frog Creek Road. We drive to the clinic for exams and blood tests, to the grocery for eggs, bananas, carrots, flour, yeast, and wine, to the farm store for seeds and supplies. The monster plods toward us, unpredictable as sluggish spring. Even wearing masks, we risk contagion. Yet, those who care for the sick are risking their own lives and more. We visit with friends by phone, 6 feet apart outdoors, or on computer screens. Send Facebook messages, emails, letters, and cards. Postpone spring events and hope for summer. Keep our eyes on the world being born again as sunshine follows rain and roots rip down everywhere to feed life amidst disease and burgeoning spring.
Wow.
So tell me what you think.
That was picturesque, I think, and topical. I like when people have something to say that's topical, something fresh, something to maybe give a different perspective on even something we see all the time or we're all involved in, but just having another perspective, even if I've seen it, but seeing it from someone else's eyes is always useful, I think. So I appreciate that.
Well, I kept thinking about Spring and All, Williams' poem, Spring and All. Do you know that poem? On the road to the contagious hospital, it
No.
begins. I kept thinking of that. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So that's where that poem came.
I kind of like the combination of nature and what's going on now, because we can't really separate ourselves from nature and the COVID thing, and we got to look for what's good out there. And I think
That's what
spring and nature are it.
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoyed it, Norma.
Yeah.
I'm glad that came across.
Yeah.
So good to see you again, Constance. It's been so many years, it seems like.
I know it's been 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any taller, in case you were wondering.
I think I've gotten shorter.
Anyone else?
I can share one that's on the same line, as long as we're
Sure.
on that.
Sure.
Called Pandemic Sunday Morning, April 2020. Dark amber liquid in my cup holds no answers, only a face older than its connecting brain sometimes realizes. Wrinkles and sags surprising the psyche. Age does not always bring wisdom, at least not consistent wisdom. A few brief lights, perhaps, before the door closes, shuts and locks on this life. But the fog has lifted, visible on lowlands over the riverbed. The sun shines on the budding trees, greening grass, mating birds, on all we think we own and control, but do not. The amber liquid compelling and bitter on the tongue of time.
Wow.
I love that last line.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about where your poem came from, Susan?
It was a Sunday morning, and it was probably about 2 weeks ago with all of this going on. And I was actually drinking coffee. Obviously, I am a big coffee drinker. And I was looking at it. I have a big cup, and I could see my face, and that's where it came from. But outside my window, I live right by the Sioux River, about a mile, well, less than a mile away. So I could see the fog, and it had been very foggy, but it was lifting at the time I was looking out the window, and it was just laying on the river, very pretty morning. And it was the dichotomy of what's going on in the world and what I was seeing out of my window. This face in this cup, thinking I should have more wisdom than I do, and I think we always think that. And not, realizing that I've lived to this point in time, and I don't. I'm not consistently wise, and so I think that's where it kind of came from.
That's it. When do you usually try to write, Susan?
Mornings,
Morning.
almost consistently in the mornings, and which is unusual because historically I have not been a morning person my entire life, but I've dabbled in writing most of my life, and for whatever happened in 2012, it was almost like a compulsion, and I kept thinking it will go away. I'll quit doing, and it doesn't. It just keeps getting stronger. So I can't explain it, but there it is.
It's the best time to write, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
You have your own little notebook to do that in every morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, I have a journal, and I try to write in the mornings because that's when your brain is like refreshed and you have better ideas in the mornings than during the day. So it's better to write in the mornings.
I agree.
Not for me, but hey, whatever.
When do you write?
I write during the day and a lot at night and weekends, because my job, I can write little pieces in between clients and stuff and then put it together on the weekends or at night. So mornings are too busy, but I seem to get my brain power at night. Maybe I'm a night owl, I don't know.
Possibly be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good. Do you have a poem, Constance, that you could share with us?
Yes, I do. And I've got a chapbook called Astronomy Lessons that I'm chopping around with, and this is a poem from that. Evaporation. Under pressure, I often fail to liquefy. We all have a critical point where we coexist. On Mars, water exists as ice or maybe vapor. Memories of twilight streams collect rippled reflections. Introspection ends in dry channels carved by long ago floods. Here, pond water only moves with a breeze unless prodded from beneath by small fish. Lovers ghost from room to room, looking for each other, passage lingering on air, which is why I try and leave doors open. Rivers need the shores to define them. Satellites cling to orbits around Earth. We explain love as an act we need to do, mean to do. Intent, after all, is the basis of society, the real reason we rise in the morning.
Mm. Can you tell us about the development of that poem?
I write a lot about space, physics, and relationships. I don't know why that ended up being my thing, but I like science, astronomy, physics, even though I have no science background, but I still like it and read about it. And then I think a lot about relationships, and somehow it all comes together in my mind and ends up being like this. Something about Mars, I read something about it and then I connect it in my mind with something I've been thinking about in a relationship, which is kind of a weird way to do it, but it works for me.
Any other comments on Constance's poem?
All right.
Good. I'm going to read one. It's called Dying from the Inside Out. We can talk about it afterwards. Many of us are dying from the inside out. Every cell in the body is stretched between the drive to stay alive and its destiny with death. We spend our days Spanish walking on the slippery slope, avoiding even the thought of the inevitable. But while we stress over the end, we're dying from within. We're dying from the inside out. When we spend time worrying about what others think about us, when we're not at all what they're thinking about, we're dying from the inside out. When we let the inconsequential occupy our limited and precious moments, when we replay slights like a loud pebble in a bucket, causing peaceful thoughts to be crowded out, we're dying from the inside out. When we allow self-pity rather than make notes, or when we wallow in self-pity rather than make notes of the offending moment and move on, when we let past gray days keep us from basking in today's sunshine, we're dying from the inside out. When we're sucked into the sewers of status, tormented over who's on top, when we assign meaning to the material we have at the bank, when we'll leave, which we'll leave when we're dropped off the plank, we're dying from the inside out. There is but one time we will take our last breath. One time we will experience the finality of death. Though many things can, only one thing will kill us. We don't know what, we don't know where, we don't know how, we don't know when. We'll face our final end. Each tick-tock of the clock moves us closer to the end of the plank. Resistance is futile. But the end date is a distraction. That's not where our lives are lessened. That's not where our lives are lost. We're dying from the inside out. What does it matter if our lives are short or long if we spend more time dead than alive? Why worry about living longer when we're dying from the inside out? Why spend so much money just to keep breathing and converting carbohydrates? What is the point of clinging to life, existing like zombies among the walking dead? Why worry about the afterlife, of which the wise at least have some doubt, when we are dying from the inside out? If we miss the laughter and joy, if we miss life's experiences, sights, sounds, and smells, if we miss the moments that give life meaning, we're dying from the inside out. If we miss the opportunity to connect with other humans and in the process experience our own humanity, when we miss any chance to learn, when we miss any chance to live, if we lose an opportunity to love, we're dying from the inside out. If we could begin to focus on the middle instead of the end, if we could focus more on the little joys than the little frets, when we die, we could say goodbye with no regrets.
Wow, that was really good.
Yeah. Certainly of this moment too, with the everyone feeling their mortality, I would say, or the chance of things might not work out physically, and it's really random, very random. So making use out of it. Way to go there. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky to have life.
I couldn't hear you, Norman.
We are very lucky to be alive and have life and be able to have that joy you were talking about.
Mm.
Yeah. What's in the middle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I noticed some time ago that I was focusing on the end game. You know, we focus a lot on the end game and the beginning. You know, we celebrate birthdays and we try to avoid even the thought of death, and we spend a lot of our time working with somehow the assumption that if we work hard enough and we do all the right things that we won't die. There's this kind of underlying useless assumption. But then it occurred to me that in all of that rush, I was missing all the stuff that made life, even, you know, the point of life worthwhile. And then I realized that it's the stuff in the middle of the sandwich that we really want, you know. And if we miss that part, if we miss that, then did we really live? If the only thing we experienced was birth and death, and that's the only thing we're concerned with, you know, what about the life? That's, you know, that's all the stuff in the middle. We got that one quick moment that we're aware of our birth, you know, and probably a quicker moment of us actually becoming an entity, and then death afterwards. And it just seemed like, oh, how about all that part in the middle? So I decided to kind of flesh that idea out.
It brings up a couple of interesting points. You know, you're talking about inside out, and there was power in that. what came to me was the power in that, because it's inside, you have control of that. It's almost like this death from the superficial, from the non between the bread pieces of our lives. We have control of that. And so every time you said from the inside, dying from the inside out, there was, to me, there was almost this meaning of, it's not beyond your control. This is, because it's inside, you have some control over this. And I found it real, probably a little more uplifting than you meant it to be honest.
Well, I'm hoping that it was uplifting in the sense of to get people to refocus on what we can do. Like you said, what are the things we can do now? What is that, that breathing, that meditation, that paying attention, that little chances we have to love somebody? Are we passing that up, for something that doesn't mean as much in the big picture? So I think, it's a poem about not dying, really. It's a poem about focusing on life and not being dead while you're alive. It's like if everything is if you're not doing anything, if you're just locked up and you're not enjoying all of the stuff, and you're not even paying attention to what's happening to you, if you're so busy trying to avoid even the thought of death that you don't ever live, then you're already dead, for all intents and purposes. So that's what I was really trying to say. Wake up, live.
I think this quarantine thing has made a lot of people wake up and actually focus on the little things within themselves. Because before this quarantine, we were all busy. We didn't have time for ourselves. And this quarantine, like we're locked down. We can't do anything about it. So we're like forced to actually go within ourselves and know who we are. It's time for me to eat, guys.
Come on.
Eat before I pass out.
Okay. Well, eat lots because you're skinny.
Okay, we already established that from the last poem. It was nice talking to you guys.
Okay.
Constance and Brenda, Suzanne, and Norma, and Lawrence.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Hopefully there will be another one, and then
Yes.
I'll be here later.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next week. Same time, same station.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, do you guys have any other poems to share?
I was wondering, a little more, what's got you doing this? Yeah.
You mean poetry?
No, doing this with the poetry?
Oh, I guess I see my role in the arts as helping other people to get their 15 minutes, in the sun or on the stage or whatever, and also helping artists to connect with each other, because a lot of problems in the art community is about loneliness and isolation and being separate and not being connected. And a lot of people have ideas, and they have lots of ideas because they're thinking people, and they might be around people who don't get them. And so they can feel like, well, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. They become more and more isolated, and that sometimes makes for let's say, less than ideal circumstances. So I've become interested in getting people, like artists in particular, more connected with each other. So when this thing came about, I was already doing lots of stuff on the outside. Everything from I'm a chaplain at the prison, and we do art programs over there. And I belong to two other very active art groups that I've been I've belonged to one for over 10 years or so, and the other one is a new one, but it's actually it's very active. We've done group shows together, and when we meet once a month, we have a potluck and do show and tell and stuff like that. And I try to participate in other poetry things as well. And so when this thing came about, it was a matter really of how do I keep that going, because physically it's not, not very practical. And when I heard about this Zoom thing, I thought, okay, I don't know how it works, but I can, somebody knows, so I can find out. Somebody else is doing it. So if I try, if I try long enough, I'll run out of wrong ways to do it, and the thing will happen. So.
Well, it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Lawrence, for
Oh,
doing it.
you bet. So I'm always, and I'm hoping that some friendships, meeting new people, trying to get more people who don't know each other to maybe meet through this, and maybe some friendships and connections will evolve.
I'm very appreciative of this, because I am one of those people. I feel all by myself in a way, in an odd way, because my what I teach does not usually lend itself to poetry. I'm a nursing instructor, and it's but I've had that. I've written my whole life. I remember writing the worst stories when I was a little kid, and then it was like I didn't for years and years, and it was something was missing out of my life. And twice I tried to, it was in Brookings, they had the Great Plains, it was a Great Plains Writers Conference. 2 springs in a row, it got snowed out. I had signed up to go for some workshops and to meet people, snowed out, completely canceled. And I just kind of gave up. And of course, this year, same thing, the 3rd year in a row, I think it was wiped out. I don't know what that means, but so I'm very appreciative of this. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, if any of your friends who are interested in poetry or want to bring some poetry, please have them contact me. I have to figure out, I think, Norma, you guys didn't get on the list because I sent it out on I thought you were on my, I have a MailChimp mail list that I send it out on, and I thought you were on that, but it's probably possible that somehow I mistakenly thought you were on, so I will go back now and try to make sure that I'll put you on. I'll manually put you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think it's just Constance and Norma. The Brenda and Susan, you got an email from me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
Because I found you on Facebook on South Dakota State Poetry Society.
Oh,
And
okay,
that's how,
great.
yeah, so it was kind of convoluted, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, well,
So you're from Roslyn, right?
yeah, Rosalind, yeah.
And so what is that, Bruce? Bruce, what's his name? That lives at Roslyn?
Roslyn. Yeah.
Bruce?
Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah, from the South Dakota State Poetry Society.
Oh, Bruce Roslin.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That's his last name. Never mind.
yeah. He tries to be Rosalind, but he's not. He's Roseland. The meaning is the same, but the name. He's a wannabe. It's not the real deal.
I have a question.
Yes.
About this event. Is this on YouTube?
It's not yet, but what happens is when I finish this, then I edit all the sort of chatter at the beginning when we're not doing anything. I edit that out, and then I put it up on my YouTube channel. Yeah. So, and the idea with doing that is so that there's, a lot of people also don't get a chance, or they don't have an opportunity to perform their poetry. And so this is, to me, this is an easy way for people to get used to. It's a low ramp for people to get used to presenting their poetry. Because especially for poets, they often they're literary and they are shy. Many of them are shy. And so they have a hard time, let's say with a big crowd or even like in a coffee house or something like that, getting up on the stage, but they might feel more comfortable when they're just in their own environment and they got the one camera, and if they just read their thing and read it, and that could be a low ramp to getting used to presenting their poetry. Once they get over the butterflies and they do it a few times, then it'll be easier to get up on the stage or bring that poetry out at an event for their family, even, you know. There are many, yeah.
If we want to connect to your edited version of our talk, how do we do that?
Okay, so I just have my channel that I put it on. So if you look up Lawrence Diggs on YouTube and then go to my channel, and there are of course, other videos on there, but that's where you'll find it. I haven't as yet made a one. You can separate out the different things that you're putting on YouTube, and I haven't like made a section for any of it really. But now that I'm doing more of this kind of stuff, I'll have to because otherwise it'll be a jumbled mess. So you'll be able, I hope you'll be able to just go to the electronic poetry garden section, and then as I do this, whoever knows how long this thing's going to last, but as I do it, then there'll be a whole bunch of them all separated by themselves. And I do on Fridays, I do another one that is I have like different topics. Like this topic tomorrow will be about trust, and have people. I usually send out a thing where I send like a TED talk or something like some kind of, let's say, conversation starter, and then people come and ideally we talk about things like trust, what it means to you, how do people get trust, how do they lose trust, and things like that. So so that will have its own kind of channel too. And our art group, we meet the one in Aberdeen, we meet once a month. And since we haven't been able to meet with our potluck and everything, we've been meeting on the Zoom too. So that all of that kind of stuff will be on. Plus, you'll see some of my other poetry that I have. They're produced animations and stuff like that. You can see that kind of stuff.
Neat. Wow, what a direction to take.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah. You know, it's fun.
Yeah.
All party all the time. That's my motto.
Friends?
Anybody else have any other poems they want to share before we, otherwise?
I haven't got one.
Sure,
If you'd like.
sure.
This one is called This Caravan, This Jazz. Lift of heart, beat of drum and trumpet. Wynton Marsalis redefines this tune, playing the melody so easily, taking us on a caravan through the desert and jungle of 20th century sound. That century, we became American, not the world-dominating monetary control by multinational corporations kind of American, but the fierce and honey sound of trumpet and piano keys, the pulsing rhythm of African drums, the heartbeat of this land, sustaining us, this jazz, like liquid lapping of ocean waves and the brain waves that make it forever new. Marcus Roberts' piano makes us sway as this caravan moves what we need: food, medicine, spices, and batik. We catch the melody, the beat, in time to dance again. Always knew this music makes us feel light, too light, not to lift the pen from the flowing page and catch the drift. We're all in this together, this caravan, this jazz.
Oh,
We're all in it together, huh?
yeah, very musical. Uh,
I love music.
I mean,
That's my thing.
it
And you
seemed,
can do it. When you're stuck inside, you can listen to music and just write all you want. It's a good way to live.
yes. Can you talk a little bit about what was the on-ramp for this poem?
Well, it was that wonderful recording of Caravan. It's about my favorite jazz tune. And Wynton Marsalis playing trumpet and Marcus Roberts playing piano. And I was thinking about this poem. I wrote it some time ago. I used to, when I was teaching poetry writing, I would often have my students just sit down and write along with music. I would play something and they would write something. I think it's good. It helps you with rhythm, with your rhythm, and it's enjoyable and a good atmosphere for writing. And of course, Ellis Marsalis just passed away, and that's Wynton's father. And he passed away of the coronavirus. And he was quite old, though. He was in his 80s. And Wynton, even though, it's hard for musicians to play now. I mean, they're not able to get together and play for audiences or anything. So Wynton Marsalis is now helping individual musicians to survive. Basically, he told his father he wanted to do something to help him. And he said that his father said, well, talk is one thing, just get out and do.
There you go.
Get out and do. But anyway, I thought of them, and I love their music.
Yeah. Anyone else? Well, I have one more, if nobody else has one. It's called The Sentinels of Time. There is actually a video of this, but I didn't really do the poem with this. I just did the background of it, and an animation, and a musical score that goes with it. On that thin line between the future that we imagine and the past we reconstruct from bits and pieces we find scattered about, there are only the sentinels of time. They keep the past from disturbing the future. They keep the future from returning to the past. The time sentinels allow us to reflect on the past. The reflections are always distorted misrepresentations, but they are all we are allowed to see, so as to discourage us from the futile task of trying to return to the past. We cannot see the sentinels of time because they exist in the present. That thin region of time, we can only have the illusion of experiencing. The sentinels of time force us to move through the future, or the future to move through us, relying on our broken clocks to support our illusions of time.
I've been thinking a lot about time. You all, especially now. So good. Apropos.
Hmm. Well, if we don't have any more, then we'll come back next week. It's the same time. I'll try to make sure everybody's on our MailChimp mailing list, and yeah, send those out, and then you can just be able to click on the link like you did this time. Susan, you look like you had something you wanted to say.
Well, yeah, I'm still processing your poem, so I'm not listening to anything you're saying.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. Oh, okay.
No, I'm no close to last line. Was it the Sentinels of Time? You can't see them because they exist in the present. Was that? Did I get that right?
Yes, right. They only exist in the present, and the present is just an illusion. So this
Right.
okay. So this comes from the concept that um, our brains take about a third of a second to process what we call reality, because it takes that much time for the data, like sound or sights or whatever feeling, to be processed by the brain. So by the time we think we're realizing the present, it's already the past. Okay, so
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we can't actually ever recognize it. And then the future is something that we imagine. We do kind of, our brains create the future, and it may or may not resemble what we think we're experiencing in the present. And then the past, uh, we often think that we remember something kind of like a tape recorder, but in actual fact, every time we remember something, we reconstruct it from bits and pieces, like whatever the brain saw fit to sort of hold on to. And they tend to be snippets, and we put them together, and then we put a kind of memory putty in between to make it consistent. That's why now we have a very, let's say, we recognize that the memory is unreliable, to the point that it used to be that, eyewitnesses were sort of like gold in a court, but now they realize actually it's not that people are lying, it's just that when they reconstruct that past, it's never like it was. It can't be, because one, we never saw all the things that we thought we saw. We saw bits and pieces of it, and we put it together in our minds. It's just how the brain works. It's not that we're bad people. It's just that we can't experience reality. It's just beyond what our brains are capable of doing, but we do the best we can.
Well, yeah, we could go on this one because what we perceive as reality can only be reality by judging it against other people's reality, because we all have to be taking in the same reality in order to verify that. So I teach psych mental health, so you can probably tell that. But thank you. That was a really good poem. I enjoyed that.
Well, thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, I will see you guys next week.